him, and then we'll do the clap. Okay, so
Yeah, sounds good.
3, 2, 1, and good. So, hello guys, Adam here from Switch Indie Fix, bringing you episode 41 of the Switch Indie Fix podcast, a podcast dedicated to everything indie on a Nintendo Switch. And this week's episode, we are joined once again. It's been a while, but he's back by Darth Stridius. Darth, how are you?
I'm very good. Happy holidays.
Yes, happy holidays. I hope you had a great Christmas, and everyone else listening had a great Christmas too. What have you been up to? What have you been playing?
Uh, Pokemon, pretty much.
Nice. Yeah, me too. I finally met spoilers, Shieldbert and Swordwood, and
Oh, those dubs.
yes, and now I'm kind of like I kind of don't want to play anymore. But anyway, yeah, this is the Switch Indie Fix podcast. We're recording on the 29th of December 2019. It's going to be the last podcast of the year, and yeah, end of December. To be honest, there's not a lot of news to talk about, but we are going to be talking about Saber Interactive's new that they're making new Switch games. We're also going to be having a discussion about whether 2019 was a better year for indie games than 2018. We're going to be talking about what we're looking forward to in 2020, what indie games we can't wait to play, and we're going to be answering some of your questions and also taking in some kind of reader comments and listening to you guys and kind of summing up 2019, what people have been playing and also what you guys are listening to in 2000 and what you guys will be playing in 2020. But just a gentle reminder though, we do need your questions for the show next year. If you have any Nintendo or indie game related questions and want them read out on the show, please head over to switchindiefix.com/podcast. And plus, if you're looking for a fun gaming community to join, why not check out the Switch Indie Fix Discord server? Just head over to switchindiefix.com/discord and join. We're very, very close to 100 members. I think we would have been there, but we pruned some away a couple of months ago. But yeah, Daff is running a Discord like a trooper, him and Bunzi, and yeah, it's a cool place to hang out. So come and say hello. Um, yeah, the only thing I also want to say is I'm back in England right now. I'm here recording. It's a nice night, nice orange night. As the sun sets, and I'm using a headset microphone. So if the microphone doesn't sound as good as you guys are used to, then yeah, that's why. But it'll just be for this episode. So I guess Darth will start with our first section as always, which is the news, and there is only one item on the news this week. That's what, Darth?
A very measly baker's dozen.
It's a very measly baker's dozen. Yeah, it's kind of the scraps on the floor of the bakery. But yeah, like we said, December, not a lot going on this year. So yeah. So, and that story is, of course, a Witcher story, since Witcher is the flavour of the month this month. And yeah, the porters of the Witcher 3, the Wild Hunt Saber Interactive, are making new Switch games. So this comes from NintendoLife.com, and it says Saber Interactive have boosted fame in 2019 by being technical wizards and getting the Witcher 3 Wild Hunt to run on the Nintendo Switch. They teased earlier this week that they love the Switch platform and creating new games that will be on the Switch. Darth, I basically put this on the docket because because it was the only story of interest this week, and because I didn't really know what this meant. Do you think it means that they're making their own IP and bringing it to the Switch, or do you think they're just talking about more ports?
I'm assuming they mean that they're making new Switch games. I'm assuming they mean they're making their own game. Like
Yeah,
they're gonna be an indie developer making their own game. They made money off making ports for other companies like Witcher 3,
yeah,
and now they have enough. They have enough money in the bank to be able to use that to make their own game. I mean, it's great because being that they know how the system works really well.
yeah,
Um, they know what to do, so they can pretty much figure out how what they can make their own thing with what they know the knowledge of it,
yeah.
right?
And like I agree. Like I think they're probably gonna do both. I guess they probably have like a team working on new IP and a team, a team still doing the parts, because I guess that's how they're making ends meet at the minute. But yeah, I agree. I think that they've kind of turned into experts for the
Because like
Switch.
for this year they brought Witcher 3, Call of Cthulhu, and Vampire to
Hmm.
Switch.
Yeah, and the Ghostbusters remaster as well.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
exactly. So they've and also yeah, and last year was like NBA Playground too, and
yeah,
Shaq Fu. And they have last year they had 450 employees, so they for sure have
wow, it's a
employees
lot.
to be able
Yeah,
to make their own IP
Yeah.
while working on some other stuff.
Mm. Yeah, I didn't realize I had so many people working for them. That's crazy. 450. But yeah, it's cool because I think we're at that stage now where developers are comfortable with the Switch. Like I guess it seems to be like relatively painless for indie developers to develop for the system. That's why we see so many indie games. But I think it's cool for these bigger studios to be like, okay, we have a full grasp of what the Switch can do. And yeah, I think it's exciting to see what they build. Like I really hope that they're gonna use the Switch to its full potential and make their game as graphically beautiful as they can and use as much of the power from the hardware as they can.
And you think they would be able to because they literally know how to bring Witcher 3 to that system.
Yeah, exactly.
So you think they would have an idea of like, okay, what do we need to do to be able to?
Yeah.
Uh,
Have you got the Witcher 3 on Switch?
no, I have it already on like too many other
No.
consoles.
Yeah, I was literally just talking to my brother before. He has it on PC, Xbox One, and he got a Switch Lite for Christmas, and he's like, maybe I'm just gonna triple dip because he's like, yeah, I know I'll play it more on the Switch when I have to sit in front of my TV and play it on the Xbox. He's like, yeah, I'm not interested. But he's like, yeah, but when I've on the Switch and I can just lie in bed and relax and just play it there, then he said, oh, he'll probably finish it. And yeah, I was saying to you before the show, I've got a few games I want to trade in, so yeah, I think I might pick it up as well.
Yeah, I mean, I just started playing it again on Xbox One, so I do not see myself
Yeah.
running to picking it up on Switch. If it had cross save, maybe,
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah.
because like I'm sure a lot of you are in this predicament where it's like, oh, I have it on 5,000 places, and I want to play it. If I can bring it here, I would love to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, like I played it on PlayStation like a few years ago and got quite far into it and then just put it down one day and never went back to it. So like yeah, I kind of like I said, Witcher is really the flair of the month this month because of the TV show,
Mhm.
and it's kind of like reignited my kind of passion for it. Like I've read nearly all the books. I think I read 6 or 7 of the books and
Yeah, I'm almost at the end of the books
yeah,
also.
yeah. So yeah, maybe I'll pick it up as well. Um, yeah, and that's it. That's it for the news this week. Did you get any like Switch related gifts for Christmas stuff?
I barely ever get gifts, so no.
Really? Ah, you got
Well,
one
I
for me
mean,
though. You got one for
yes,
me though,
which
didn't
I'm trying to work on right now.
you?
But
Yeah,
it's failed.
yeah. We'll sort it out after the show. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I also got a Nintendo Switch Lite. I got one of the yellow ones, and my
Oh,
brother
nice. You
got.
actually got. How
Yeah,
do you like
yeah.
it?
I love it. I love it. It's Yeah, it's a little bit confusing when you first set it up. Like you set up your new account and you can kind of download your games, but yeah, it's like if because I'm back home at my parents' place, so I just brought the Switch with me and I brought my dock, so I'm basically using my original Switch now as like my YouTube machine. It's like plugged into my TV at home,
Mm,
but I was like, yeah, my idea was, yeah, I'll watch YouTube on one Switch and then with the other Switch play a game. But because my YouTube account is linked to my like Nintendo eShop account and like my Switch account, I can't play them both at the same time, which is a little bit annoying. And then with games like Pokemon, I was like, yeah, I don't know what the deal is with transferring save because I know the save from the Pokemon isn't backed up on the cloud. So I'm
yeah,
like,
it's,
okay,
it's doable, but I forget how you do it.
yeah, yeah. So I was like, okay, well, I guess my OG Switch is now going to be my Pokemon Switch, and my handheld one. I started playing Gree today, or Gris, depending, I guess, how you say it. And I've been playing a lot of Super Epic. I'm really close to the end of Super Epic now. So yeah, it's great. I love it. It's like the perfect little handheld. Like I feel like it feels a lot more comfortable in my hands. The screen I was worried about at the start that maybe it's a bit smaller, but it is a little bit, but not significantly smaller, I don't think. And yeah, it's just nice to have another Switch. And I was thinking, yeah, in the future, I got my fiance, I bought her Animal Crossing New Leaf for Christmas for the 3DS. So
Nice.
I was like, yeah, if she likes that, then yeah, then maybe we can get 2 copies of Animal Crossing. She can play it on one Switch with her account, and I'll play it on the other with my account. So I'm kind of like kind of looking forward to it.
Yeah, like that's yeah, exactly. That's perfect, right? Like getting a Switch Lite when you have a partner who's maybe not a big gamer but
Yeah,
likes games, so they have something they can play with.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I got Zelda Link's Awakening as well because there was like some kind of bundle that my mum got. Like you bought a Switch and you got a free game with it. So she got Zelda, which was a good choice, I think.
Yeah,
So yeah, looking forward to next month. I was doing the post for the best indie games coming out in January, and there's not a lot coming out. So that okay, January is maybe a month where we can catch up on our backlogs. I can get a few things finished off from last year, and maybe hopefully get through Link's Awakening because I don't think it's that long either.
yeah.
But yeah, so speaking of 2020, we were actually wanting to look back first at this past year and 2018 because I don't know about you, Daff. It's been one of those years for me where I think looking back now, it's it's it it's not like I think 2018 there was a lot more bigger titles like indie titles that came to the Switch, a lot more like for me at least memorable ones. Whereas when I look back at this year, I can think of like Cadence of Hyrule, Cuphead,
Non-indie.
yeah, and and Untitled Goose Game. So before we get into this, why do you and Bungie not think Cadence of Hyrule is an indie?
Is published by Nintendo. Nintendo had a
Yeah.
hand in it. Nintendo had to make sure they used their IP properly. They, kid, they didn't really work on their own IP. They worked on their own IP with Nintendo, and we're not sure if Nintendo actually gave them money to work on it and funded it. So being that's published by Nintendo, it's hard to say that it is an indie game because the publisher is a
But the title of the game isn't a Legend of Zelda game. The title says it's a Crypt of the Necrodancer game.
exact. Yeah, I know, but it's still like it's published by Nintendo.
Yeah, but well, like we'll speak of later, Ori and the Blind Forest and Cuphead were both published by Microsoft.
Cuphead's not published by Microsoft.
Not on the Switch, but it was originally on the Xbox. And Xbox and Microsoft funded a lot of that game. Like without Microsoft funding, you could argue the game on the Switch wouldn't be what it is today.
Yeah,
And
but
there's
I think
also there was another game that
on Wiki the publisher's only Studio MDHR.
on the Switch version, I think, right? Because the Xbox version, it was a Microsoft exclusive.
Yeah, but because it's exclusive doesn't mean Microsoft's publishing it.
Yeah, and it's also the same with Little Town Hero. Like that's a game that I wouldn't have considered indie when it was first announced because I thought like Game Freak is a AAA title, but where
No, because Game Freak is a company that Nintendo uses for Pokemon,
yeah
right? And then Pokemon is getting published. Little Game Hero is their own thing,
yeah
right? So that's
I don't know. I think like let's talk about it a bit later because we do get some questions about it. But anyway, um, so yeah,
like
what
Ori.
what
I
about
wouldn't consider, but yeah,
you wouldn't consider it an indie game?
it's published. That one's for sure published by Microsoft Studios,
Studios, yeah,
100% published.
yeah,
But it's not really, yeah.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. Anyway, let's talk about it a little bit later because yeah, Bastian and Bundy asked us a couple of questions about it. So yeah, when you think of 2019, what games do you think of, Dav?
Oh, I mean, I
Indie games.
played so much of Slay the Spire,
Yeah.
so much of Slay the Spire that was my main game of this year. Probably is my top game of this year
hmm
out of
Why do you
all
think that?
games.
Why do you think it was? Why did Slithers? Because I remember when we talked back, I don't know, it must have been around June time when the game came out. You were kind of on the fence about whether or not you were going to pick it up, and then we finished the episode, and you said that you were going to give it a try, and now it sounds like it's one of your favorite games of the year. What like got you so into it?
I like well, I mean, the same thing as last year. I loved Dead Cells,
Yeah.
and just for the same thing, I liked roguelike, starting from scratch, and each playthrough is completely different.
Mhm.
You're not playing the same. The run you're going through is not going to be the same as one run you just had or one the next run you're doing.
Yeah.
And that's why I love it so much. And I
Mhm.
played like I think on Steam I have 170 hours on it. On
Nice.
Switch I probably have another 100 some odd hours on it.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
yeah, and then this year also like Divinity Original Sin 2 is probably the best in one of the best indie games ever
Yeah.
in terms of the quality and what's in the content inside that game.
Yeah.
It's a huge, massive CRPG, which a lot of games cannot compare to.
No.
So that one there for sure, and then Ape Out.
Yeah.
Ape Out is phenomenal, small game with great sound and audio visual and like cinematic, not cinematic, but like visuals.
Yeah.
And I would say that one's also like there's a lot of big games this year. Then there's like
hmm
Entitled Goose Game, which for me I played a bit. I got on my Xbox when it hit Game Pass.
Yeah.
I mean it's cool, but I would never say that is a like
It's
a
like a game of the year
amazing game.
material.
It's just that people for some reason loved it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that when people look back at 2019, that's probably the game that's going to be remembered as like one of the biggest in like if not the biggest indie game because of the effect it had on the internet and had on I'd say like the more general gaming public. Um, because yeah, I think it was like it's kind of like a little bit like a stream bait game where it's just basically an open sandbox and it has like a kind of silly idea and it just lets you wander around and cause havoc and cause silly like circumstances. So I think for a streamer it's like a perfect game. And then you had people like PewDiePie playing it, and obviously that puts it out to a massive audience who might not otherwise have heard of it. And I've said it before, like I think House have done a great job of like marketing the game, and like I remember it must have been like I don't know maybe 2017, like is when I first heard of the game, and I don't even know why, but I just remember being like, oh my god, yeah, I can't wait for this game, and it's really impressive how they managed to get so much build up so much hype for such like a small indie title.
What I'm hoping for, like if you look at the games a lot in 2018 and
Mm,
2019, a lot of the big games that are on it are in the indie games on it are a lot of games that were put on that were from PC that were
yeah,
put onto it, right? Like Cuphead, Dead, Dead Cells like no Dead Cells I think came out at the same time in terms of after Alpha. Same thing with Slay the
yeah,
Spire. But like Into the Breach,
hmm
like although like already if you consider already Hollow Knight, if you consider Holy and Blind Forest, like Return Obra
yeah,
Dinn, Undertale, Divinity Original Sin, um, like there's so many games that were like indie games that came to Switch that have been out for a while,
yeah,
right? So it's hard to say like, oh my god, these are phenomenal. I think it makes it less really good is because these games are finally hitting the Switch,
yeah,
which I'm excited to see more in um 2020 that we're going to see much more like original in like huge indie games that are like brand new for the Switch.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, there's some
yeah.
this year and like Bloodstained and all that, but Bloodstained did not hit well on the Switch at the beginning,
No,
so that suffered, like made the Switch suffer. Oh, and also I forgot to say Baba's You. That is a
yeah,
phenomenal game.
yeah. I have it on my list for 2019. Yeah, like a surprise title that I think not a lot of people really knew much about, but then yeah,
And Katana
like a
Zero and
really
Wargroove. Like I
yeah.
think 2019 is the better year than 2018.
See, I don't know. Like for me, looking back, because I I don't know. Like Cuphead and Ori and the Blind Forest, I think are like the two. I would say the two biggest like hits of 2019. I think like like maybe sales wise after Untitled Goose Game, because like Cuphead and Ori, it was also like such like a movement, like they managed that Nintendo and Microsoft had managed to organize something that these two games could come onto the Nintendo system after originally being Microsoft exclusives. But when I look back at like 2018, I see Celeste, The Messenger, Into the Breach, uh, Yoku's Island Express, Bad North, Dead Cells, Undertale, Hollow Knight, and I just think like, and then I'd say that that's probably like the A tier from 2018. But then you have games like Overcooked 2, Gree, Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom, Donut County, Wizard of Legend, and there was a lot more for 2018 that I could have put on, but I just kind of kept it like this. And I'm just like, I don't know. I feel like this year, though there were a lot of great games, I just don't think it was as memorable as 2018.
I think there's many more bigger games that came out in 2019 that are indie games,
Yeah,
right? And that's a huge thing. Like we want, like I think we want to see more of like these like big games over like experiences, which
yeah,
like in 2019, like Wargroove is an amazing game,
mhm,
right? Like, and there's a lot of small ones too, but like for me, like I can think of Ape Out, like Hotline Miami came to Switch this year,
Yeah,
um, which everyone's gonna play again. Um, Castle Crashers came into this year.
yeah.
I think there are a lot more games. Like I think both years are phenomenal. Both years are amazing, and I think even if you rank them, they're very gonna be very very close no matter what.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's just one of those things. I think maybe last year as well, like there were a lot of great indie games, but maybe they were just maybe a bit more spread out to the point where you felt like like Celeste. People were talking about Celeste for a long time, and same for the Messenger and like Into the Breach when it won like I think it won Indie Game of the Year last year at the Game Awards, and even games like Donut County. I feel like people were talking about it and being like, oh yeah, you should play it. Whereas I feel for 2019, I feel like a lot of them are like maybe games that we did already know about, like Divinity 2. We knew like has been out on Steam for a while. Cuphead we knew about. Ori and the Blind Forest we knew about. Like even I don't know Bloodstained. We've kind of known about it for a long time. Like and then yeah like Hellblade and Return of the Obra Dinn. But I think like these games have kind of maybe it's just been a bit more packed this year to the point where you're like, okay, yeah, this is a great game, but another massive indie game is coming out in like a week, so they're just starting to like eat each other's dinner,
I mean,
and
like
maybe as well it's just me, like maybe I didn't play that many of these big games this year.
also last year
Um,
you can see the same thing. Undertale, Hollow Knight, Into the Breach,
yeah,
all the games were on Switch on Steam way before. Even Dead Cells was on Steam
yeah,
way before they showed up here. Donut County was on also on phone at the same time, right? So that
yeah,
brought
yeah,
a lot of popularity. Same thing with the were saying or Wild Hearts,
yeah.
right? So like I think both years had a lot of games that were out previously, and that's why I'm
Mm,
saying I'm hoping for next year to see much more like stop with the ports and see new stuff.
yeah, yeah. That's it, and I think you're right. I think we're getting to that stage where yeah, there is like this. I guess the Switch has like stapled itself in as being, yeah, it's here to stay. It's like a relevant console, and now people are starting to bring new games to it. Was there a game this year you were disappointed with, an indie game? Or
Luca,
really?
I
Why
didn't
didn't
play
you
many
like
indie
it?
games. I didn't really play
Yeah,
many indie games this year. I mean, I got Slay the Spire and I pretty much stuck to
yeah,
it.
yeah,
And I'm not gonna stop with Cadence. I don't consider that an indie game.
yeah,
Uh, so I'm not gonna mention that one. But like,
yeah. Okay.
I loved Ape Out. I loved Baba's You.
Yeah.
I want to try the Tourist.
Yeah,
I
me
hear
too.
good things about it.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, this year there's also Heave Ho, which is a fun party game.
Yeah.
And I think Bastion also came this year.
Yeah. I think so as well.
Yeah, but like this year, like I didn't buy many indie games this year, so
Mm.
out of all of them I played, um, it would have to be that one. I just never looked. I like Dark Souls and all. I just never got into that, into the into it as much.
Right. You're talking about Luca.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now Luca was, I don't know, for me it was kind of a surprise. Like I'd never heard of the game before, and I got like an email from Kevin Wong who was doing the, I guess like the publicity for it and the marketing, and I just like for always with me it's kind of like an art style thing. I just saw the art style and I was like, oh, this looks really cool. And then I'm also not like really into Dark Souls. Like I really like watching people play those type
Oh,
of games because I feel like yeah, my skill level probably isn't high enough to play them. So yeah, I kind of heard it was like a Dark Souls like, and I was a bit like, oh, I don't know, let's see what how we get on. And yeah, it was, I don't know, it was just, there was just something about it where it's probably the first game I've played for a long time, like a long time, probably since I don't know something last year, like probably since like the last game I gave a 10 out of 10 to, like Steamworld Dig 2, where I was just like in the game, like obsessed with it, and just even to the point where I was like, like thinking about, okay, I can't wait to finish work to get home and play the game. Like it just really became like a passion to play it, and I think it was just the art style, like the different fighting mechanics that it had, the weird story, the fact that like you were basically had to fight, and the more you died, once you it built up a meter. Once the meter broke, like something it like triggered something in the game to happen, and things changed, and you were basically trying to get to the end of this really strange story. And yeah, I think it was just all those things that added together where I was like, okay, this great game has really impressed me this year and really like not like we say like knocked me for six. Like I just didn't really know what to think about it. And when I was writing my review, I was like, yeah, there's just nothing that I didn't like about this game. And I think yeah, for me it was a 10 out of 10. Like obviously that's not the case for everyone, but yeah, for me at the time, I just gave it a 10. I had to give it a 10.
Which one were you disappointed with?
There's been a few to be honest, and yeah, most of them are the more recent ones. Like I think you know, like from my review, Sayonara Wild Hearts. Um, I think it's a great game. It's just not a I don't know. I think the problem with it was that they put it on Apple Arcade, and I think as great as that is, I think Apple Arcade is for indie developers. I also think sometimes it can devalue a game, and it definitely for me it definitely did that with Sayonara Wild Hearts because I bought the game for like €12, played it for 2 hours, and beat it. And usually that's not a problem for me. Like I love games like Old Man's Journey where you have like a very tight, concise beginning, middle, and end in a 2 hour period. And it was a great story and like very moving story. Whereas Sayonara Wild Hearts, it I don't know, it was just like an endless runner, and there was a story there kind of, and like it does have like amazing music and beautiful visuals, but it just kind of made me think, oh well, I should have just played this. I should have just signed up for Apple Arcade for a month and played it there. And yeah, it just wasn't what I was hoping it was gonna be. Like it wasn't like the fact that it was 2 hours long. It just felt like the gameplay just felt a bit boring and a bit like okay, yeah, there's like what's it called where you have to hit a button in time.
Oh, QTs had a lot of quick
Yeah,
time
yeah,
events.
but even
QTs.
yeah, but they were so slow and so you know drawn out that even you could leave it to literally the last second and still hit it and it would have been fine. And yeah, it just didn't really live up to what I hoped it would do. And the other one was yeah, also Untitled Goose Game. Like I
Mm.
think I gave it a six out of 10 for the review. And yeah, it also I don't know, it's like I say, it's just like an open sandbox with some kind of like loose goals that you have to achieve, but
Yeah.
the goals are so loose that it doesn't tell you how you're supposed to do them. So a lot of it is just trial and error,
Mm.
and there's also a lot of like annoying AI in there, which makes it more frustrating. And again, it's like a 2 hour game, which I think it ended up taking me 4 hours to beat because it was just so annoying, and some of the sneaking just didn't work. And it's weird because you think that the idea of the game is really to cause havoc, but actually like the game's mechanic is you're supposed to be sneaky. And yeah, I think it kind of it's hard to get that across sometimes, especially when you're trying to review it and you're trying to get to the end. So yeah, I wasn't really impressed with Untitled Goose Game either.
And there was like Feudal Aloy that was not the
Yeah,
greatest.
yeah. Did you play it?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I was really disappointed with that actually. I think that came out I think it came out on Valentine's Day,
yeah. It came out
and
early this year.
yeah, and like I was followed because the developers are from Prague, so it's quite close to Vienna, and I'd been following them since before I'd started switching DFX because I really liked the art style, and there was just so many cool aspects of the game, but the actual gameplay itself was just also like it wanted to be like a Souls like, but it went the opposite way of where Luca I felt the combat was really well designed and really fun. Like Feudal Alloy, the combat was just like annoying and slow and drawn out to the point where I had to put it down because I was like, yeah, I don't want to play this anymore.
Yeah, I think we hit what we wanted to talk about from the last 2 year 2 years of indie games. I think both of them were phenomenal,
hmm
and we can rank them however we want. But I think even if you would, I think both of them are very close to each other.
Yeah, I agree. It's I just think it's nice to see that indies are seem to be thriving on the Switch, and next year, like we saw it last month's Indie World. Nintendo seems to be going full steam again with next year, so Daff, do you want to read out the list of games that are coming out in 2020, and let's talk about which ones we're looking forward to?
I'm not naming the first one because that's not an indie game. It's made by Ubisoft.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
So
Is it
Gods and
is it though?
Monsters. Gods and
Because
Monsters is 100% a Ubisoft game. It's
okay,
Ubisoft Quebec.
because I was confused because it said from the producers of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, but there was no Ubisoft sign in there, so I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah.
oh, maybe it's a
It's
spin-off.
from the same team.
Ah, okay, all right, so then ignore that one. It
It's
does
for
look cool though,
it's for sure
but
probably
yeah,
a publisher Ubisoft. It's yeah.
okay.
So Hollow Knight Silk Song. Hell
Mhm.
yes.
Mhm.
Uh,
You excited for it?
oh god yes. I loved the first one. I beat
Yeah.
Hollow Knight. I loved it. Why one of the best Metroidvanias ever, and has like a lot of Dark Soul elements which I really like. So
Yeah.
I cannot wait for Silk Song.
Yeah.
Uh, Boyfriend Dungeon. I'm excited. Okay, I'll name them all first. Sorry, then we'll go through them.
Yeah.
Boyfriend
Okay.
Dungeon, Mineko's Night Market. I thought it came out already.
No, not yet.
Knife
It was an
Boy.
yeah knife. But I put that
Ro-
on with a winky face because
yes.
yeah.
Roki.
Yeah.
Roki. Eastward. Baldo. What the Golf. Fogs. The Survivalist. Skatebird. The Red Lantern. Axiom Verge 2. Crosscode. Swimsanity. Sports Story. And Dead Premonitions 2. And then there's Carrion, which you forgot to put
Oh,
on,
and
but that's
carry.
coming.
Yeah, yeah. That's from Devolver, right?
Yep,
Cool.
exactly.
So yeah, so I basically I'm sure people at home are like, oh, I can't believe you missed this game. But these were basically the games listed on Nintendo's coming soon section of their website. So yeah, Daff, you said about Hollow Knight. So what about Boyfriend Dungeon?
Hell yes. I kickstarted that back in the day on for PC.
Ah, really?
They're
Ah,
from
cool.
Montreal, so
Yeah.
actually I know them. I know the
Mhm.
developers, so and I saw them at each year. Montreal does a demo night for all these indie companies, mostly indie
Yeah.
companies, and they were
Yeah.
there 2 years ago.
Okay.
So since then I've been following them, and I kickstarted them right away
And
when I
is
was able
the
to.
game is it already out on Steam?
No,
No, it's not. Okay.
I think it's
You
gonna be all released at the same time for everything.
okay, that's cool.
So yeah,
Yeah,
it's not out
'cause
anywhere.
yeah, oh, that's cool then.
So I'm hoping they can switch my PC code um
A
uh,
Switch one.
to a Switch one. Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of peeved me off a bit,
Yeah, I'm sure you can. I mean, usually.
just because it's like I would have got it on Switch. It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Well,
yeah.
I guess when they kickstarted it, they didn't know about the Switch, so yeah, I'm sure you can. Yeah, I'm also looking forward to Boyfriend Dungeon. I'm actually, hang on, looking at the Steam store now of it, and if anyone doesn't know what it is, let me just.
It's a dungeon crawler where you can date your weapons.
Yeah.
So
So yeah,
essentially, you
that's
take your weapons, do a dungeon. They they'll talk to you, and then when you're out of the dungeon, they will transform into a human, and then you can date them.
yeah. So it's kind of like along the veins of like Dream Daddy and those kind of dating sims, I guess, mixed in with an actual like dungeon crawler.
Oh, and there's two other games we forgot to. Or there's one game we forgot to mention, which is Spiritfarer,
Ah, yeah.
and I want to
Spirit.
mention Bloodroots.
Oh yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
should be next year.
Yeah, I did see that. I don't know why I put it on. So yeah, yeah, it looks cool. The next one was Miniko's Night Market,
I thought that was
which
out already. That's weird. That's a cat one, right?
yes. So it's like basically you were playing. It says a whimsical adventure slash simulator game where you play as Miniko, a curious girl who has just arrived at her new home on a peculiar Japanese-inspired island overrun by cats. Discover the mysteries of the island while crafting crafts, friending friends, eating eats, and catting cats. So yeah, it seems like possibly like a mix of like Slime Rancher and maybe Moonlighter,
Yeah.
and it has this really cute arts and craftsy kind of art style, and obviously there's all these cats everywhere, and yeah, maybe even like a Stardew Valley kind of feel to it, where you're getting to meet the locals and talk to them. So yeah, it's definitely one I'm looking forward to. I'm on their Steam page, and it just says 2020, so I'm not sure exactly when it's slotted for. In 2020, I believe that's also what it said on the Nintendo Switch on the Nintendo eShop page. I should probably just
Yeah,
go
it
for
was
the Nintendo.
2020. Like, or you have nothing on it. I forgot. I just went to the website and
Yeah. Um. So yeah. So what is? Oh, yeah. So I put Knife Boy on because yeah. If you don't know, I'm uh, I guess the marketing and community manager for Knife Boy. Um. And the game, yeah, is getting ported to all the major consoles next year. So yeah, I'm very excited for that to let people actually get to see the game. If you don't know what it is, it's a Metroidvania about a guy with a huge knife in his head who is like resurrected from the dead to basically take on this evil corporation and to save his girlfriend. It's all made by one guy called Carl Fredrickson, who was a guest on the show a few months back. And yeah, he did everything. He did all the programming, the art, pretty much. Yeah, he's a one-man team. So yeah, we're excited to bring that hopefully next year to the Switch. Well, it should be next year. What is Spiritfarer, Darth?
oh, Spiritfarer. I just
Farer.
know of it. It's described as a cozy management game about dying, where you play as
Ah,
Stella, a fairy master for spirits. You
okay.
harvest and then build your very own spirit fairy. It looks
Yeah.
like a cute game and it's quite lovely to look at. It just looks like a nice little fun game.
Mm.
That's yeah, like you build up this fairy and everyone who talks about this game uh loves it. Like
Mm.
always have raving things. Like it looks like kind of like Moonlighter, but like instead of like you selling stuff, you're building up this uh fairy. Like you're going out to mine stuff to get stuff,
Yeah.
and then all these like spirits are on your fairy and stuff.
Aha. Yeah, I actually did see this on the. Ah, yeah, I do know this game.
Yeah,
Yeah, it does
exactly.
look cool.
Yeah, it looks really
Yeah.
interesting. So
Yeah. Cool.
and
So the next. Go on. Go ahead.
I think this is a Montreal developer if I'm correct. I think it's Spirit Lotus
Which one
or Thunder
for
Lotus,
Spirit?
Spiritfarer,
Yeah.
which is a
Uh,
Montreal dev company. I'm 99%
mhm.
sure.
And I think the next game is also a Montreal or at least a Canadian developer from Bloodroots.
Yes, that's there for sure Montreal. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
That game is how would you call it? It's kind of like beat 'em up brawler puzzle game, whereas
Yeah.
you're picking up items in the world and like throwing at like enemies. You're trying to get through the level without getting hit. 'Cause as soon as you get hit, you die.
Yeah.
Uh,
So yeah, it's a bit like I guess if people have played Ape Out, it's similar to that where you
yeah,
are this kind of like crazed up. I don't even know what he is. Like he looks like a I don't know a mountain man. And yeah, it says here that all the levels are handcrafted. So and they're basically laid out like a puzzle. So it's like okay, you need to just kill everyone in the level or beat them up. And it's kind of like a sandbox on how you do that. Like there'll be things laid out in the level that you can use as weapons, or
like a
maybe you can
carrot.
yeah, or yeah, the carrot, or like there's a barrel that you can ride to like
Yeah,
run people over. And yeah, and it's all about getting to the end of the level. And I guess this, I can imagine this is like a game that is gonna have like a good speedrunning community.
yeah, and leaderboards and stuff.
Yeah, exactly, because as people race to get through the levels as quickly as they can. So yeah, that's definitely a cool one, and that one I think it still says to be decided. Yeah,
Yes,
available to be decided on the
you can
website.
play the alpha on Steam right now if you're interested in it.
Yeah,
So I
cool.
highly recommend it. It's fun. They do like weekly challenges.
Oh really? Ah, that's cool. The next game I put on the list is called Rookie,
Yeah, I'm trying to
and
figure that one
it's
out.
yeah, it says the page on Nintendo.com says every dark fairy tale has its monster. Roki is an adventure game inspired by Scandinavian folklore, a dark contemporary fairy tale underpinned by a touching narrative, alluring art style, ancient puzzles, and atmospheric exploration. Um, I get a lot of vibes of like like games like Journey and um, I can't think of like or maybe like Gree, like as I'm starting to play Gree or Rhyme, like these very whimsical worlds where there's like huge monsters, and this one is obviously if it's based on Scandinavia, it's set in like a winter wonderland looking place, where I guess a lot of bad stuff happens if it's talking about a fairy tale and a monster. Um, but yeah, I think I think it could have the potential to be something special. Like again, like it says, it's narrative driven, so it's maybe something I it sounds like something I'd really like. Um, it is currently slated for winter, which I guess would incorporate this winter. So maybe it's coming in January or February.
Yeah,
But of
if that
course,
if it's around there, I would say so. It's probably what it is.
yeah, but of course it's susceptible to change. Like I can't remember where we saw this. It was either at the direct at
What was it?
E3 or
Was it in Indy at some point, or yeah, or E3? I
yeah,
forget.
it was at one of the ones. Um, but yeah, another cool looking game. Next up is Eastwood, which I didn't play it, but I watched a friend of mine play it when we were at EGX. It's a game by I believe he's from Shanghai, the developer, called Pixpill. It's going to be published by Chucklefish. Looks like a Chucklefish game, like it has that beautiful pixel art style. Um, Basically, for me, I think it looks like a 2D version of, or it reminds me of like a 2D version of Last of Us, where basically you play as these two characters, an older guy called Sam, and this strange young girl who seems to have some type of magical power. Um, and yeah, I didn't really know a lot about it until we got to EGX. Other than it just looks amazing, the art style, and like basically it's in a post-apocalyptic world where, yeah, people are basically pushed together in this huge city, but it's obviously all run down and dirty and grimy and rusty. And you go out with this girl that you kind of, I think, you've kind of like found, and you're trying to find out who she is and protect her. And yeah, that's kind of why I get the Last of Us feelings for it. But it's actually the gameplay. It looks a lot like when my friend Rob was playing it. It's a lot of like puzzle based stuff. So it might be like you go into a room where there's a lever behind a wall. You can take control of one character to, I don't know, hit a switch that opens a door that keeps the door open. Then you can switch to the girl, and then you have to run with the girl to go open the door, kind of thing. So maybe it has like some like Zelda inspiration to it as well. But yeah, I think it looks really nice.
The next game looks really interesting.
Yeah, again another one that I've been watching on Twitter. It's called Baldo,
It looks like a Ni
and
no Kuni game.
yeah, well, it's heavily influenced by Studio Ghibli.
Ah, okay, that makes
Uh,
sense.
uh, okay, it doesn't even have a Nintendo page yet, but yeah, it's uh, very heavily influenced by Studio Ghibli. Like Darth says, it does look a lot like a Ni no Kuni game. On their Twitter, there's actually not a lot that it says there.
Yeah, like
Um,
from Nintendo Life, the headline is Baldur's what you get when you mix The Legend of Zelda with Ni no Kuni.
okay, yeah,
So like it's very much like it looks like exactly like an RP and like an action adventure like maybe some RPG element. Yeah,
yeah,
with the look of like Ni no Kuni, where like the witch looks like a big ass cat. The like
yeah.
the
I'm
monsters
looking
are
at a
all
picture.
these like
There's a huge frog playing a guitar.
yeah, exactly, yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah, yeah,
So
um,
yeah, it looks really interesting. It looks like there's gonna be a lot of puzzle solving and exploration.
yeah. So I'm on IGN. It says it's unclear whether Baldur will be a linear adventure or open world, but the trailer shows its titular hero tackling a slew of tasks that will be familiar to explorers of all types. Definitely one you should have a look at just for the art style and how beautifully it's animated. Like it does kind of look like yeah, a more 3D Studio Ghibli movie. So if you're into that kind of art style, definitely go and check it out. The next one, Darth, is called What the Golf, and I believe it's been like making a lot of headlines because hasn't it been on Apple
Yes,
Arcade?
it has been. I can't wait for this game.
Yeah.
It looks
So what is it?
funny.
Because I actually I've heard of it, but I don't actually know what it is.
It's like mini putt, but like you just it's insane stuff happens. Like I think like you instead of shooting the ball, you go flying instead. Uh, it's just like yeah, it's just really wacky uh stuff. It's on like yeah, like I'm looking at one video now. It's like you're shooting the ball and then you go whacking like flying, or you're shooting a cat instead, or you're
Yeah.
shooting an egg and it turn you crack it. One's like a
So the
a ball.
so the
Uh,
synopsis on Nintendo is a silly physics-based golf parody where every golf course is a new surprising type of golf. Some brilliant or hilarious, others so absurd they will make you want to go, what the golf? Golf a house or a horse or a car?
yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So it just seems like a golf game that's yeah, kind of take things to the next level with silliness. Um, but yeah, it looks cool. Like I say, I've heard it's done a lot of like I've heard about it a lot on Apple Arcade. So yeah, it's one I'm looking forward to next year. Next up is a game called Fogs, and yeah, do you know this game, Da?
yeah. It's a two-headed dog,
Yeah, so it's
and
basically I guess it looks a bit like a sausage dog with two heads,
yeah, and it's co-op
and
for sure,
yes,
where you control both the heads, and it can be puzzle mechanic. Where it's like, oh, you gotta grab this, then swing, and I gotta
yeah,
grab this, then swing, and so on and so
exactly.
forth.
Yeah, like I played it with my friend Robert EGX, and it's exactly that. You basically you have like these levels that you have to get through. The dog can you can basically control a dog by making it open and close its mouth so it can grab things, and you can also like elongate it so it gets longer.
Mm,
Um, so a lot of stuff is like, yeah, okay, the dog you might have to hold one end has to hold on to like a rope, and then you drop the other end off a ledge and pick up a ball, and then you bring it back and you take the ball to a hole, and and that opens a gate, and then you go to the next part. But it's like it looks very simplistic art, like it's very like seems like low poly, but it looked really beautiful when we were playing it. And they had like they did all these really cool puzzles with like changing the perspective of the camera. So it would be like, okay, if you over in one corner there might be like a monster asleep, and it's like you go over to him, and the camera moves so that you can see like he's dreaming like an air bubble, and he's dreaming about a bridge, and you have to like line the camera up so that the bridge goes between two platforms in the background, which then you can run up and cross over the bridge in the background. But as soon as you move the camera back, the bridge moves and you can't do it. So it did have some it's not just like a silly physics platformer or puzzle game. It actually seems to have like actually a lot of thought behind it, which I can appreciate. And yeah, it's I hope it has online multiplayer because it'd be a
yeah.
cool game to play together.
Next one is a survivalist. It's the guys who made Escapist,
Yep.
where as the name sounds like, you're pretty much you get left on a stranded island, and you have to craft your way to survival, and it's co-op, so that's gonna be great for that kind of game.
Mhm.
It looked very much like the Escapist. If you know what Escapist looks like,
Yeah.
that's what this game is. It looks really fun. I can't wait. I can't actually kind of wait for this game, like
Yeah.
for the
Like
co-op parts of it and stuff.
that's what I was gonna say. If I don't know how many can play together. It says
Four for
up
sure.
to four players. Yeah. So I think if you can get four people together to play it, it would be pretty cool. Like I do like these kind of survival games where you have to go out, chop down trees, pick rocks up and whatever, and build like a base and slowly upgrade yourself. Like I do really like that. I was never really into prison. What's it called? The Escapist.
Yeah.
Were you ever into it?
I never really played it. I played the other one, Prisoner's Architect. Never really played
Uh-huh.
Escape. I do only Escape, so I should play it. But
Yeah. But yeah, I never really got into it. But this seems like if there's like a group of us playing, it would be cool. And that is slated for oh well,
2020,
it just says 2020. The next game is called Skatebird, and I think this is going to be next year's Untitled Goose Game.
and it's pretty
Um,
much what it said, what it sounds like.
yeah, yeah. It's at first I was really excited about it because I thought it was supposed to be like a spiritual successor to like the Tony Hawk's franchise, but had like a silly concept of a bird riding a tech deck around like someone's desk. But like yeah, I also played this at EGX, and it I don't know. It didn't really control well, and I know it's still like very. I think it's still in like the alpha. Um, so yeah, like I played it and it was fun, but I was kind of like, okay, it needs a lot of work, and I hope it gets a lot of work because I would really love it to be like a Tony Hawk's successor. Um, but again, they have like a really kind of unique marketing campaign where, at least on their Twitter, like it's as if the bird is tweeting. So it uses like really bad grammar and spelling mistakes, and they're always showing off like parts of the game. And it's another game that everyone who seems to be into this to know a little bit about gaming seems to know about Skatebird already. So I think like next year it'll be like the huge internet hype game like Untitled Goose Game was this year.
Yeah, and the next one is the Red Lantern. It's pretty much about
Mhm.
finishing the Iditarod, which is a dog sledding competition in Alaska, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Um, and it's gonna be a story about you know, finishing it. It looks interesting.
Mm.
We saw it in one of the indies.
Was it
Um,
the Nindies or was it the kind of funny one?
oh, yeah, yeah. Either kind of funny showcase or the indies. I forget now which
Yeah,
one.
one of them. Yeah.
It looks
Yeah, it does. Yeah, go ahead.
it looks interesting. It looks like it's gonna be a nice story based game. I don't think it'll be too long.
No, because yeah, basically like the spoiler in the trailer was that yeah, you get attacked by a bear halfway through the
Mm,
race, and I guess it's gonna have some survival
yeah.
mechanics to it where you probably have to rebuild your sled and find something to pull it because I don't know if the dogs escape or get away or
Or
whatever.
die. Yeah, I'm assuming
Um,
you may lose
or
dogs
die.
as you
Yeah,
go.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, looks cool. Nice art style. Kind of like a cool idea. I think of it. You are kind of lost in the middle of the Alaskan wilderness, and you only have these dogs to help you survive. Um, so yeah, a nice game. Where do you stand on Axiom Verge stuff?
Never played the first one, but I'm probably interested in the second one
Yeah,
because I'm pretty sure it's a roguelike kind of game. So,
yeah.
yeah,
Well, the first one, I don't know. I bought it on Vita, I think, and it was a little bit too like retro for me, where it was very like it's a Metroidvania, right? So
yeah. Alright, it's Metroidvania.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and I think it's based on a lot of like games like Contra and those really old shooters.
Mm,
And for me, it was a bit too retro in the fact that like the graphics are very very like basic pixel art, and it's a hard game, and it's not like easy to just like pick it up and play. But I think for those people that are really into that genre, they love it. I'm hoping the second game is going to be a bit more modern, whilst keeping some of those um, original mechanics. But looking at the screenshots, I guess it does look better than the original game, but I still think it's not really a game for me, which is fine. I'm sure there's lots of other people that are gonna play it. But yeah, this was like the thing that they left us off with at the last Indie World, right? This was
yeah.
like the one
Last
more
Indies
thing.
was that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's cool. It's again like I think it's indie in every sense of the word. Like I think it's just developed by one guy, and 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 yeah, so I'm looking forward to that as well. Next up is Cross Code, which is a game I think it came out on Steam last year
Yeah,
or
I'm pretty sure it's out already. Yeah, it's already on Steam. Yeah.
yeah, and it's a game like people I think that have played it were quietly saying like, oh, it should have been a contender for Game of the Year. Um, but I think it's just one of those games that maybe it was too niche and too kind of indie that not that many people played it. Like I heard, I kind of follow a group of guys called Sword Chomp on Instagram, and they were like screaming from the rooftops that people should play this game. And yeah, and right now it's only out on Steam,
Yeah, it
and
looks
they
like a very
announced that
much
it's
an action adventure game. And it doesn't look like my kind of game, but it looks cool for people who like that kind of game.
yeah. So well, it says it's a retro-inspired 2D action RPG. Uh, Oh no, it says this retro-inspired 2D action RPG might outright surprise you. Crosscode combines 16-bit NSCS style graphics with butter-smooth physics, a fast-paced combat system, and engaging puzzle mechanics served with a grippy sci-fi story. And yeah, this is like the opposite of Axiom Verge for me. Like I look at this game, and I'm like, okay, it's retro-inspired, it's 2D, it's pixel art, but I'm like, it looks gorgeous, and it's setting like it seems like it's fun and not too not too like of a serious world, which Axiom Verge was. Like it was very like, okay, this is the end of the world and blah 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 blah. And I also like that the developers have like a sense of humor because I believe they were asked on Twitter like, "Oh, are you ever going to bring the game to the Switch?" And they said, "Oh yeah, when pigs fly, we'll bring it to the Switch." I think not knowing that the Switch was going to be as popular as it is. And then in their announcement trailer at the end, they had pigs flying in there in the trailer. So it was kind of like, okay, yeah, holding their hands up, like, yeah, we might have like spoken a little bit too soon with the Switch. But I'm really glad that they're deciding to bring it over because it looks like a really cool Switch game. And then yeah, next up is Swimsanity, which is I think at first look you kind of like, what on earth is this? It to me it looks a bit like like those old like a Java game. Like the art style, it looks very basic. It's like very colorful, very like blocky. Well, not blocky, but like the colors are very blocky. Like there's not a lot of like, I don't know, depth to it. But I know BenjiCon from Switch Island and Age of Boredom back when he used to actually play Switch. They both played it at EGX Rest in London and said it was really fun, and it's basically like a co-op underwater shooter.
Yeah, it looks like
And
a shooter.
yeah, and you might be thinking, okay, there's not many games where the underwater part of the game is actually fun, and they've decided to make an entire game about that. But no, like Stevie Age Bottom said that he really liked it and he really enjoyed playing it. So if there are people that are more like couch co-op kind of fans, then this is a game for you, I guess.
Yeah, and the next one is Sports Story, which is pretty much is made them from the makers of Golf Story, which like everyone like whoever played Golf Story really enjoyed it. It's
Yeah,
very much like a 16-bit SNES game that came out now. This is
yeah,
about more than just one sport. It's about like
yeah. It's
tennis.
a yeah, tennis. There's golf, soccer. I think there's even cricket in there, which
Yeah.
is cool. Like that's what I really hope that they were gonna like, because the game is made by an Australian developer,
Mm,
and I was like, oh my god, like I really hope they lean into the Australianness of it and make like a cricket story. Like I thought that would be really kind of cool. And I think they've probably gone with a smarter option of making like a story about all sport in general and including cricket. But yeah, a great RPG. Like for me, it had like that perfect mix of golf and RPG. Like it wasn't a golf sim to the point where you're having to like perfectly hit your ball every time. But it also was like a fun kind of light-hearted RPG about this guy that wants to become the best golfer in the world to kind of show his wife that he could do it, or his ex-wife that he could
yeah,
do it.
and no one believes in him.
Yeah, exactly. And you go from like this old crappy golf course to playing on like these like playing like this dinosaur world and ice world and stuff, and yeah, it's a cool. Golf Story is a great game. If you have a chance to play it, you definitely should. One of the best indies on the Switch even now, even though it came out in 2017. Um, and yeah, next up is Deadly Premonitions 2. Which, did you play the
Nope,
original game, Daff?
nope, I never did. It's a horror game, right?
No.
It's a spooky game.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think it's horror. It's kind of like horror in the sense of like Twin Peaks, where it's a little bit weird and a bit unnerving of a game, I think. Um, and yeah, it definitely the original game definitely has like a cult following. Um, Lee reviewed it for us on Switch Indie Fix. Gave it a 9 out of no, he gave it a 7 out of 10. And yeah, it's just one of those games that I think was kind of considered ahead of its time when it came out,
Mm,
and because of that, people didn't really get it, like what it was trying to do. But now is kind of looked back on fondly. Like I know, what's he called? Jim Sterling is a big fan of it.
okay. Yeah, I'm not in
And
big.
it's like, yeah,
I'm not big into the spoopy games, so I
yeah,
usually don't follow them.
yeah. So it says a gruesome. This is Lee's writing. It says a gruesome murder occurs in a sleepy American town. You're sent in as a rookie FBI agent to find answers behind the killing. When you arrive, you realize the murder is the least of your worries, as the town is plagued by supernatural beings. So yeah, the to be honest, the first game looks a bit rough. Like it was remastered and published by Numskull Games, but it does look very like okay, a PlayStation 2 game. Um, and he also says like about the voice acting, like that there is a lot of voice acting in the game, but it kind of feels a little bit like dated. So it's kind of I think it's cool that they're going back to it. They've gone for like a more looks like a cell shaded art style as well, which is cool for the second game and makes it. I guess it's gonna hopefully mean it'll age better than the original one's visuals. So yeah, so if you're into kind of like Twin Peaks and these spooky games, that's definitely one for you next year. And the final game we have written down, Darth, is Carrion, and that's I
Right.
think that's one of your most anticipated games of the year, isn't it?
Yeah, and ironically, I probably won't be playing it on Switch because it's gonna be on Game Pass.
Yeah.
It's like yeah, if you ever want to control an evil horror monster, this is your time. You're like this tentacle monster going through like pipes and like killing the scientists and stuff in the underground bunker.
hmm Yeah, so it's another game published by Devolver Digital, and
Yeah,
like the the hook, I guess, is that you're not fighting, you're not like a hero trying to fight his way off a spaceship. Like in Alien, you're not Ridley. In this game, you're the alien. You're the one who's trying to hunt down these heroes and kill them and make yourself bigger and
yeah,
more, yeah, and scarier.
exactly. It looks cool. I can't wait to just try it out and see what it is.
Yeah, it does look cool. Good. So those were our, I guess, all the games that we kind of are looking forward to in 2020 coming to the Switch. Let us know what you are most excited to play. If you do want to get in touch with us and tell us what your most anticipated game of 2020 is, you can do so by going to the Switch Indie Fix Discord server. Like I said, we're really close to 100 people. I'd really love to get 100 before tomorrow or before the end of the year. That's kind of like a personal goal of mine. So make sure you go over to switchindiefix.com/discord, or you can hit us up on Twitter. Darth's Twitter is at Darthstridius, I believe.
Yep.
Yep. And my Twitter is at SwitchIndieFix. So, guys, we're going on to the final section of the podcast, which is our question section. We have 4 questions this week, which is great. The first 2 are very similar. They have the same themes. And the first one comes from Bastian from our Discord server. And Bastian says, has indie, or I guess he means indie games, become more of a style rather than a word to describe independent studios? Examples given are Hellblade, Octopath Traveler, and Untitled Goose Game. And then he says, alternatively, who and what governs the count as indie? Could EA be classified as indie as they don't have a bigger corp looking down on them? What about Panic, who've made apps and have lucrative deals with Apple for eons? So, has indie become more of a style than an actual like label for, I guess, smaller companies, Daft?
Well, Octobus Traveler is for sure not indie, 100%. It
Yeah,
is
I would
made
agree
and
with that too.
developed. It's made and developed. It's made and published by Square Enix.
Square Enix,
So
yeah,
like that
yeah.
one's not right. Hellblade
But
is
I think what he's trying to say though is like, is it indie because of how it looks?
no. I mean that's no because like you can argue that anything that's retro looking is indie, right? But that's like
Yeah,
that's yeah. I mean no. I mean indie is pretty much it's usually a small company making it and the publisher is a smaller. It's a
mm,
Chucklefish, Team 17, Devolver Digital, where
yeah,
they're just like a more of a marketing and distribution company that just publishes it,
yeah,
and does not fund them. Like let's say like potentially like Blind or Ori and Blind Forest, or hypothetically maybe Kite as a Hyrule, where you have
yeah,
the publishers giving them money and helping them. Indies are pretty much a companies making their own game, and it does not and they're not public, like an
right.
EA or Ubisoft.
So what about a company that has 5 people? They want to make a game and they go to Kickstarter and they raise $4 million on Kickstarter for their game. Is that still considered indie?
I would consider that as indies that they're getting funding, but the funding is like I mean like the funding is not like and like limitless almost, right? Like
Yeah, and I guess it's not a corporate funding;
yeah,
it's like a crowdfunding.
because like there's some games that come out are indie games that are funded by like government funds. Like we have Canada has a Canadian multimedia
Yeah,
funding, which gives
yeah,
game money to indie companies to flourish,
yeah,
right? But they're not getting EA. There's no big conglomerate helping them. Like even let's say like EA did Sea of Solitude or Sank or
yeah.
Untangled. I consider those indie because EA was the developer, the publisher, but they did not have a hand in that game. They were just
Mm.
trying to promote
They
them.
also don't.
All
They
them
also don't make any money off it, right?
exactly. All the money
They
went
make
back
their
to the
money
indie.
back.
All the
Yeah,
money goes back to the company. Like that kind of branch um, is indie. Like or like Activision started private. What's it called now? The guys who published Outer Worlds.
private division.
Private Division, thank you.
Yeah,
Activision started, or 2K, I think Activision started Private Division, which is essentially their arm for indie games.
yeah.
So like, indie game is for sure murky at the moment. You can argue
Mm.
that it's getting murkier and murkier as we go on, and I
Yeah.
think we'll see more and more bigger companies giving IP to indie companies. But
Mhm.
it's pretty much indie. For me, indie is a company that is funded by themselves or like Kickstarter, or whatever. But is and they put out a game,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah. I would agree. Like I think it's the problem what like you have now is that like now there is only really indie games or AAA games. Like there's we've lost that like B tier and
yeah,
A tier level
we
gaming.
do have some double A. I mean, would
Yeah.
consider like Hellblade a double A game, but it's an indie
Mm.
because they are like yeah, double A
Oh,
games kind of died
they
out
were. Yeah.
because no big companies publishing small. I mean, THQ Nordic, you can argue that is some
Mm.
why a double A. They do a lot of double A stuff, but
Yeah.
you don't have a lot of yeah. The middle ground has kind of died out, and indie games are just coming bigger and then replacing them.
Yeah.
Because like I said, Divinity Original
Yeah.
Sin 2 is a is a huge game. Like it's indie, but I would not consider them indie in terms of what it is. Like Outer Worlds is a huge game, which is also
Yeah.
coming out next year. So that's another indie game coming out in 2020.
Yeah.
Um,
I forgot about that one.
that is for sure double A game in terms of like the
Mm.
look and style, but it's indie because it's yeah
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think it's more like it's more like a studio that is usually self-financed, or they have a publisher that is an indie publisher. Like you have like these publishers like Chucklefish and Devolver, which are like, they're huge companies within themselves, but they also, I don't know, they're considered like indie publishers because they usually only publish a certain type of game by a certain type of developer.
yeah. They only take
And
marketing. They only take like essentially they just market the games, right? Like they get money to market, they
yeah,
get money from marketing and stuff, but they
yeah,
don't actually have a
exactly.
hand in the actual
In
game.
Yeah, like they don't give the company funds to be like, okay, make this game like this for us. It's more like, okay, we'll give you this much money to help develop the game. We'll handle the marketing of the game, and then we get a share of the profits when
Yeah,
the game goes on sale.
or they help out with some of the
Um,
coding. Like I think they helped out with Stardew Valley for the multiplayer.
yeah, that's true as well. The publisher that we have for Knife Boy is they're doing the porting for it, because it's
Yeah, it's a
they
lot of
have the
work.
expertise. Yeah, they have the expertise of porting it to other consoles, and Carl's just one guy, so he can't do it really by himself. So yeah, so yeah, it is definitely becoming more and more murky. Um, Bunzi asked us on a personal note, what constitutes for an indie for you, which I guess we've already gone
Hmm.
uh, dealing with it. She says, how do you deal with the blurring of the line when deciding what's indie or not? For instance, I wouldn't consider Cadence indie because it had huge amounts of funding from Nintendo, and Nintendo had a hand in developing it. But I would consider Child of Light indie because it while it's published by EA,
Ubisoft.
the Ubisoft, yeah, that's right. The developers had far more freedom in creating the game they wanted. How does that work for you, and what you define as indie? Like we've already kind of been over it a little bit. Like I would say Cadence is an indie game because it's it's an IP. It's definitely it's a Nintendo IP that has been put into an indie game. And like I said, it's not called The Legend of Zelda: Cadence of Hyrule. It's called Cadence of Hyrule: A Crypt of the Necrodancer game. So it's like the developers, like Brace Yourself Games, have developed it using their mechanics from their own IP. It has like their own character in it, and yeah, it's I guess Nintendo probably paid a lot for it and have had a oversight over how Zelda is used and how Link is used. But for me, it's still an indie game because it's still made by this small independent studio, and again, I think sometimes it can also be priced. Like it wasn't priced as like a $60 game, where you might argue Kings of Hyrule had more of a right to be a $60 game than Link's Awakening did. But
Mm,
again, I think sometimes pricing is like a deal for indies where you're like, okay, an indie game is usually priced between, well, the better indie games are usually priced between $15 and $25. So I think it fits in that niche. I also think sometimes the way a game looks can can be an argument as an indie game. And Kings of Hyrule is a really beautiful game, made in with pixel art. Um, and I think sometimes that can can really define how what if a game is indie or not. It's like you said with Hellblade. Hellblade uses like a super realistic art style and looks amazing on like the Xbox One X. And I think that's another reason why some people consider it to be double A, because it looks like a double A game, and I think that can also go into some ways of being like, okay, this looks like an indie game, so maybe it is an indie game, or I consider it as an indie game, whereas this looks like a triple A game, so yeah, maybe it's a triple A or a double A.
but then like Child of Light, I wouldn't consider indie because it's a developed by Ubisoft and is and published by Ubisoft. It
Yeah.
was made by I believe Ubisoft Montreal, but they had a wing called UbiArts,
Mhm.
which is essentially what they would
Yeah.
be their indie side. So
Yeah.
it's hard to say. It's technically like the indie-esque kind of like quick games that are quick done, like made quicker, but they
Yeah.
had the financing of whatever they wanted to make it.
Yeah.
So
And that's it. And I
that's
guess
very
they don't have the
murky.
finance of whatever they want. Like I think EA and Ubisoft are like, okay, here is a budget, and the budget is probably an indie game budget. Like they're not going to be like, oh, here's $100 million, make whatever you want. It's like, oh no, we like your pitch. We think the game will make this much. We can give you this much to make it, and it's obviously a lot easier for the developer to probably to take that money than to have to go to a Kickstarter and you know not know about it.
Yeah, but I mean, this was
Um,
essentially a Ubisoft game through and through.
yeah, like I also think Child of Light is like is a Ubisoft game, but then when you like we said with Unravel and Unravel 2 and what's the other one, Fair, that EA
Yeah,
did.
right. Yeah,
Those games I would consider indie because
they're not
they
developed by in EA.
yeah, and it seems like EA really just leaves them alone. It's just like, okay, here's the funding that you need, make the game. We get the money back that we invested, and yeah,
Yeah, I
and I
mean,
guess for EA it's kind of like a goodwill kind of thing because they get so much wrong all the time.
yeah. For me, it's like I consider indie something that's made by a small company that is not has no real connection to a huge conglomerate
Yeah,
that is funneling money into them.
yeah, and that's also makes it hard because sometimes there's companies where you think, oh yeah, they're just a small company, but they're actually owned by someone huge. And like I don't know, an example might be that like CD Project Red. When you look at their background, it's like, okay, they've made The Witcher 1 and Witcher 2, which were like kind of cult hits, and then they came out with The Witcher 3, which has obviously been massive, and now you would argue they're probably the biggest, one of the biggest, or the biggest, best known AAA developers there is.
I mean,
But when
like,
you look at like
y-
their backlog, you're like, well, there wasn't that many games before, and they weren't that popular. But then they're also they're owned by CG Project, is it,
yeah,
or
like they're the
CG
same.
Red?
Essentially, it's the same. That's why it's working. It's like the same company, right? I mean, technically, the
Yeah,
biggest indie company right now you can argue is Bungie
yeah, yeah. You could argue, yeah,
because they literally don't have a publisher. They don't have a publisher.
yeah. They
They're
self-published, yeah,
self-published, right? So like, but then you can say, well, why is Ubisoft not an indie? They self-publish their own thing. But
yeah,
Ubisoft is public. I don't think Bungie is.
No, I don't think it is either. Or isn't it? No,
No.
I'm thinking of who else? Who got bought by Tencent?
Then they may have. Oh
No,
yeah,
I
they may
can't
have
remember.
some. Tencent give them
Yeah,
money to make a game, but that's not Destiny.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, anyway, I think it's like one of those things. Like there is no right or wrong answer, which does make it sometimes difficult for me when it's deciding to talk about indie games or play them or review them because yeah, we had it with the Game of the Year awards where like I consider Cadence of Hyrule probably the biggest indie game of the year and probably one of the most important indie games going forward. But yeah, Darth and Bungie don't consider it an indie game, and I think a lot of people don't really consider it an indie game either. So it's funny. But yeah, let us know what you think an indie game is and how you go about drawing the line between indie and double A and triple A. And like I said, yeah, come and join us in the Discord and let's have a conversation. And the next two questions come from at Kenny Press F, aka Mike from the Switch Island. And his first question is a very philosophical one. He says, "Who would win in a fight between Reggie Fils-Aimé, how
Filame.
do you say his name?
Reggie
Filame
Filame.
and Reggie Fils-Aimé and Doug Bowser. Who do you think would win?"
Oh, Reginator's going to win.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think there's only one answer to that, and definitely the Reginator. And yeah, his second question, which is a bit more indie related, is what's your most anticipated upcoming indie for next year?
F.
What's your most
Oh, that's the Hollow Knight Silk Song.
Hollow Knight Silk Song? Yeah, I can understand why. I'm looking forward to it as well. Um, I think for me, I don't know, out of this list, I would say um, probably Crosscode or Sports Story, or there is another game coming out at the start of February or the end of January. I can't remember the exact date. Which I didn't put on the list, but it's called, depending on your region, it's called Football Tactics and Glory or Soccer Tactics and Glory, and it's basically a game where if you imagine the career mode from FIFA mixed in with XCOM, that's basically what the game is. So each football game is like a game of XCOM, where like footballer stats are kind of used against each other to do passes and shots and stuff. And yeah, it looks amazing, and I can't wait to play it. So yeah, I'm also really looking forward to that at the start of next year. And yeah, that was all our questions. Thanks to Mike, Bunzi, and Bastian for asking. If you want to ask questions for the first show of 2020, you can do so by going to switchindiefix.com/SIF podcast, or you can ask them in Discord, or you can just at me on Twitter. And to close off the show, we're going to do a 2019 listener roundup. So I put out a tweet today asking people to tell me um, what they thought of 2019. What were the biggest games they enjoyed playing the most? What are they looking forward to next year? Hang on, where's the tweet? So it says, yeah, I basically asked what's been your favorite indie game of 2019 and why. One of our reviewers, Chicken Perm, said, if New Super Lucky's Tale is not considered an indie, then my top three would be Sparklight, Mech's Termination Force, and Legend of Skyfish. Which, yeah, I would consider New Super Lucky's Tale an indie. I don't know what. I guess that was another one that was on the Xbox first.
The
Um,
crappy version of it was.
yeah, that was just Lucky's Tale, right? Or
Yeah,
Super Lucky's Tale.
which confuses the
Yeah,
hell out of me because I thought that was just a port for the longest time.
it is a port, isn't it?
It's a revamped port, right?
Yeah,
Hence why it's
yeah,
got a
yeah. They've
new.
updated a lot. Yeah,
So literally, I
yeah,
thought it was
yeah.
that shitty version. I was like, I'm not playing it because it's gonna be that shitty
No,
version.
no, no. It's been updated, yeah, and added to. Um, yeah, if you want to check out Chicken Sperm's review of New Super Lucky's Tale, which is a really good review, and also Legend of Skyfish, and I'm gonna put his Sparklight one up soon. Just go to switchindiefix.com.
And then Scrab.
At game,
Oh,
no, go ahead.
Scrabble plays or at Scrabble plays. Monster
Yeah.
Boy was released last December, so might not have missed the award for 2018. So if so, that's a 2018 game. So I won't
Mhm.
consider that one this one. But otherwise, Blasphemous, which drew me in and was an amazing experience. That's a game I got to get into. Actually, that's the game I need to look
Yeah.
into. Is
Yeah.
Blasphemous.
It's on sale right now, I think, on the EU and US
Well, I know what I
eShop.
may
So I
use a
think.
gift card for.
Yeah. I think it's 20 or 30% off. Yeah. Another one where I think it has like got like this really unique art style. Another Souls like a 2D
Yeah.
Souls like, kind of reminds me of Dark Souls. Sorry, not Dark Souls, Dead Cells, but like a little bit slower.
Mm.
But yeah, I'm kind of a little bit scared to try it, so I don't know if I'll be trying it out. I'll see what you say, Darth, and then if you like it, I'll go for it. Next up is Gaming in the Wild on Twitter, and they say Sayonara Wild Hearts. It's such an uh, effusion, light-hearted experience to dance and drive and run through that Neo dream world. It doesn't matter that it's short when it's so completely touching and unforgettable. Loved it to death. Do you have them up there as well,
Yeah,
Daff?
I do. I think I have them
Do
in
you want to
different
read the
orders.
one? Yeah, it doesn't matter. Do you want to read another one that we've not read yet?
Sure, it's from Switchabu, so at Switchabu
Mhm.
News. That would be have to be Ukulele and the Impossible Lair, with levels akin to the classic Donkey Kong Country games, music by Grand Kirkhope and David Wise, and the humor from Banjo-Kazooie games. Playtonic games truly prove themselves, and they are here to stay.
Yes. Another one. I don't know. I'm not really into these Donkey Country kind of style platformers. They're a bit again too hard for me. But I've heard nothing but great
Yeah,
things
same
about
thing here. I'm
Ukulele,
probably waiting
and
for a sale. I'll get that one to get it at some point.
yeah. Next up is at DBZ Squirrel, and they say the Liar Princess and the Blind Prince is such a cute, fun game with an amazing story. That's a game Lee reviewed on the website. It's basically like a game where you play as this princess that is a werewolf, and she falls in love with a prince, and basically because she doesn't want him to know she's a werewolf, she blinds him, and then realizes how horrible that is and tries to lead him back to get his vision back. So yeah, you're basically like this. It's like a puzzle platformer where you have to kind of babysit this prince through different levels. It has like a really cool like chibi art style. Do you want to read the one from Brian?
Sure. So Brian at Brian with any on that's hard. There's having so many, but if I had to choose one, then I'm choosing Hell is Other Demons. It's a brilliant shooter with a killer soundtrack and great replay. Others I've loved: Sayonara Wild Hearts, Mech Extermination Force, and Katana Zero.
Nice. Extermination Force. That's coming up a lot
Yeah.
as like one of the best hidden gems of the eShop over the last year.
Hmm.
And then yeah, the last two at Nindy Nation and at Antexy. And Nindy Nation just says Children of Mortar, which
Mortal.
is yeah with three exclamation marks. And Benjamin Angst and Exy says I'd say Children of Mortar, but I still haven't played it. But it was the one I anticipated most. So to be honest, and because it's my 2019 Game of the Year, AAA and Indies included, I'd have to say Slay the
Hell
Spire.
yes, I
Uh,
agree with him on that
yeah.
one. It's my top game from all AAA and indie games combined. It's Slay Spy for me.
Uh-huh. Nice. I need to get back. I need to get back into it. Uh, and then he says, yeah, I guess he says, it had such a good way to renew roguelike genre with playing cards, very addictive and refreshing. And yeah, that is it for 2019 for the Switch Indie Fix podcast. Thanks so much, Darth. What are your New Year plans? Do you have any?
I'm just spending time with my family probably. Not much. I'm
Nice.
not big in going out and all that. So just yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going. We rented a hotel in like in the town close to where we live, and we're gonna go out for a meal and some drinks there and watch the fireworks. But yeah, to everyone else, I hope everyone had a great Christmas and has a fantastic New Year wherever you are. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. Well, not
Mm.
watching, for listening to the podcast this year. We had a really productive year. I think we've really pushed the podcast forward this year, and I have a lot of plans for it in the new year as well. Hopefully, bringing more guests on and maybe even launching a new podcast. So keep an eye out on that. And thanks a lot to you, Darth, for being my frequent guest on the show, and for also doing such a fantastic job with Luke on the Generation 8 podcast. You guys have been killing it over there as well.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure being here.
Yeah. And yeah, This has been episode 41 of the Switch Indie Fix podcast, which will be going up on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Please make sure you like and review it wherever you can, because that helps us out a lot. If you want to get in contact with me, you can hit me up on Twitter and Instagram at Switch Indie Fix, or come and join the Discord server at switchindiefix.com and switchindiefix.com/Discord. And if you want to hit Darth up, where can people find you, Darth?
I'm on the Discord, and that's at Darth Stridius on Twitter.
Awesome. So thanks a lot for listening, guys. Have a great new year, and we'll see you in 2020. Thanks a lot.